And when you say is it synonymous, there's certain verses, whether it be 9:5, where obviously I'm not a scholar, but when it says things like, when the most sacred months has passed, slay the idolaters wherever you find them, and take them captive, besiege them, prepare for them in ambush, but if they repent, when you read that, that sounds synonymous with terrorism. You then start reading certain things and thinking, well, that's where it's coming from. And if it's not coming from Islam, then why are there 18,000 terrorist attacks since September 11th?
When terrorists strike, the first thing they talk about is being divinely ordained to do that. Is it not a misinterpretation from the Islamic teachers to achieve their political gains?
Oh, not at all. If you look at Michael Schur, who's former head of the Osama bin Laden unit, CIA, he says that the main and almost the most primary and overriding grievance is Western foreign policy of Osama bin Laden. Professor Bruce Lawrence of Duke University wrote a book on the statements of Osama bin Laden, and yet again he said that Osama bin Laden's primary gripe and only gripe is really the foreign policy of the Western powers. And religion, like what religion does in any society, religion just underwrites whatever those values or perceptions or motivations of that society is. So if people want to launch a crusade, you can say you can do it for money, wealth, power, and then just say, and God wills it, and that's the underwriting it. But that's what religion does. Religion's always been hijacked for the purposes of various political factions. And I'll make a point. I am a follower of the quote-unquote 7th century Islam, which there's no different century Islam, there's only one Islam. And it doesn't tell me to go and force convert non-Muslims. I'm Portuguese in origin, the ancestry in Portugal, and as also Carlos is also Spanish in origin. We tell you that our history is Muslims, Christians, and Jews living side by side together in peace and harmony. And it wasn't no subjugation or humiliation. This is false. My organization has challenged the EDL to debate us on what Islam means. And his misquoting of text just now is, why don't you continue reading that text? It was talking about a specific historical situation where pagan Arab tribes were breaking their peace treaties with the Muslims, killing the Muslims, and the Quran said, right, for these tribes, slay their soldiers wherever you find them. And then it goes, for those who have remained true to their covenant, then maintain that covenant with them. And even then, for those who ask for safety, then escort them to a place of safety for pagan Arabs. So continue reading that Quran. Don't just give us sound bites, Tommy, because it's very misleading. You're misleading your own people.
Maybe you should have told that to the man who went on the murdering spree in France, who used exact quotes from the Quran to back up all of his murders on the videos. Once he showed the murder, he showed the quote from the Quran. And I don't see Christians, Sikhs or Hindus blowing things up worldwide on a daily basis. You just don't see it.
You said you don't hear about Hindus blowing themselves up. Well, then you have no knowledge then about the Tamil Tigers, who have committed the most suicide bombings than any organisation or religious group in history. Try reading outside of their Daily Mail. There's actually interesting facts out there.
No, it's not. So then when we want to talk about these issues and we're angered by them, you talk about grooming. The grooming and systematic rape.
Oh, God, let's talk about the grooming.
Yeah, there's no 12-year-old Muslim girls getting raped by 20 Christian men in this country. Let me talk about it because I'm talking.
I'll get to you very soon. Let him finish.
There's Christian girls, right? Not just Christian, non-Muslim basic girls being raped and pimped across the country, right? And we talk about grooming there, and then we talk about the reasons why. And people, again, we look and we see it linked to Islam.
Well, now, basically, what we're seeing is some guys in Rochdale used alcohol and they committed fornication with some white women, and we see this, right? Is alcohol and fornication allowed in Islam? No. It's forbidden. I challenge you to find me any verse of the Quran or hadith or anything, yeah, that says that drinking alcohol and sex outside of marriage is allowed in Islam. It is not, sir. So I think you'll find that you're trying to now label these guys who are now adopting a culture which you'd probably be more familiar with than we would. All right, it's not Islamic culture. Secondly, if you look, if just look on this, the CIA World Fact Book.
Answer the question.
Let me finish, right? The CIA. I'll get to the CIA World Fact Book. Yeah, in the space of from 1980 to 2005. Yeah, only 6% of terrorist attacks in America has been from Muslims. They were actually beaten by Zionist extremists, who've got 7%. You've got extreme left-wing groups, 24%, communists, 5%, Latino, 42%. So, and again in England and Europe as well, the vast majority of the terrorist attacks were the Basque separatists and other and far-right groups. But also, before I answer your question, I want to make another point. Al-Qaeda is kind of like, has the same problem as the EDL. You see, the central Al Qaeda don't control everyone who's part of who said I'm Al Qaeda, right? And you see Osama bin Laden writing letters telling people, don't do this, don't do this in our name, yeah, in Iraq or whatever, right? Yeah. At the same time, the EDL, some of their guys can go, they can bottle women wearing hijabs. They can burn.
There's no evidence. That's rubbish.
They can burn mosques. They can shout EDL. They can.
Well, now you're going to interrupt them.
They can graffiti it. But because EDL don't have an official members list, they can always publicly disassociate themselves. This allows them to have their cake and eat it.
Many wars within Islam.
Yeah, but Tommy, why don't you want to understand Islam itself before you go
into the Middle East? There's so many different interpretations of Islam. I understand Sufis are great. There's some great sects of Islam, but what we see now being pushed through this country is Wahhabi, Salafi, Saudi-funded money. You're not allowed a Bible in Saudi Arabia. You're not allowed to drive on the same side of the road as Muslims to Mecca. Women are not allowed to drive. It's a completely fascist country, yet they are now dictating what form of Islam is being pushed through the mosques and madrasas in this country.
But you're dictating to Muslims. You're dictating to Muslims what culture we have to follow and how we should integrate.
Follow
to be
your religion
to
however you want. But what we see, I live in Luton Town, we see hostility, we see violence, we see terrorism. It's what we see. It's not.
Is that Friday night? Typical Friday night for you, Tommy.
We lost one member of our community on 7/7.
Go down the pubs on a Friday night. You'll see violence. You'll see hostility. You'll see argument. You'll see that kind of stuff. Because Muslims, we stay away from that. There will be reduced hostility.
You don't actually.
And we don't promote that kind of
violence.
When people say, if you look at the world, around the world, like in Nigeria and all these other countries, why is it that we see it's a lot of Muslims are in violence, always involved in violence, having guns and whatever? But if you look, okay, let's go around. Palestine, invaded by Zionists. Iraq, invaded by America. Afghanistan, invaded by America. Somalia, attacked by American planes and supported forces. Pakistan, drone attacks. Egypt, regime previously supported by America. Tunisia, France actually supplied weapons and even offered police. So what we're seeing is there's not Muslims walking down number 10 Downing Street with guns and taking over Britain. We're not Muslims going down the White House and taking over. It's Muslims fighting in their own lands against people going over to their country with